you're probably doing isolated body group exercises like chest day, back day, leg day. This is also known as the bro split. And with science has now found that this is actually not optimal for muscle growth, strength, and fat loss. And if you're wondering what is, it's full body workouts. So what's interesting with a full body workout is you're hitting the entire body, and then the next day you're doing it again, but you're doing slightly different exercises to complement. By doing full body workouts, you're getting overall more output because your sets that you're doing are more recovered, so you can lead to more intensity of doing more reps or more weight. And then what's amazing is you look at the actual SRA curve in the science literature. So SRA curve stands for stimulus, recovery, and adaptation. So stimulus being the workout you're doing to stimulate the muscle, recovery being the process of rebuilding that tear you've done, and adaptation is the extra bit of change in recovery to make yourself bigger and stronger. So optimally, you want to get an SRA curve that lines up that right after the adaptation phase, you're back to the stimulus. So full body workouts are now shown in science to hit this SRA curve most optimally, especially in trained individuals. So if you've lifted for a while, you want to do full body splits. It's in your best interest. If you're a newbie, isolated body groups is actually okay, but we're going to want to shift to full body over time. And my biggest recommendation is that actually do a mix between both. If you prefer to do isolated body groups and you can't stay consistent doing the full body workouts, then just do the bro splits. That's fine. But if you want to take it up a notch and really optimize your muscle growth, strength, and fat loss, you're going to want to do full body splits. And my set's going to take it from here and break down more of the science of to why that is.
So how do we optimize our own SRA curve? As everyone's so different. Again, beginners have a much larger SRA curve, so the area under the curve is much larger. It takes a lot more time for that whole curve to complete. For people that are more experienced, you're gonna see a much shorter SRA curve, so they're gonna have a much smaller area under the curve. They will be able to get a great stimulus, it's gonna recover, they're gonna recover much quicker, and they're gonna adapt quicker as well, so they can train again in a shorter period of time. Where someone that's just beginning, again, they may have to wait several days before they have to train again. And again, the science right now shows for the average person, someone that's not a beginner, not elite, or not someone that's really advanced or a pro athlete, someone right in the middle, the research is showing that the optimal time to train again is somewhere between 32 to 34 hours after training. And the reason for this is because when you train a certain muscle group, you're gonna see a big spike in muscle protein synthesis. Again, muscle protein synthesis happens when you lift weights. It can also happen in a different pathway when you eat amino acids or when you eat protein. Again, when you do it in resistance training though, it's a much bigger stimulus in your muscle protein synthesis. And what this means is recombining amino acids into specific proteins that are going to add on to your muscle to create more tissue, create larger muscles. So when you stimulate a muscle, it's gonna spike that muscle protein synthesis, and then it's gonna recover and come down. When that muscle protein synthesis starts to come down slightly, you're still growing in that phase. Your muscles are still recovering and they're growing, but then it comes down back to baseline where it needs to be trained again. That muscle needs to be trained again. Ideally, again, under the science, this will happen around that 29 to 34 hour mark. Someone that's more frequently trained, sometimes this can happen as early as 16 hours. So you can train that muscle again the next day, no problem. Find that the smaller muscle groups like your shoulders, your chest, your biceps and triceps and calves, these can all be trained a bit more frequently. So sometimes you can train them, within 8 hours apart. And this is more so for calves and triceps and shoulders. When we're talking about larger muscle groups like the glutes, the hamstrings, and the quadriceps, these muscles tend to take a bit longer to recover. The muscle protein synthesis goes higher because they're larger muscle groups, takes a bit longer to taper off, come back to baseline. So in that sense, you might have to wait a little bit longer before you hit that muscle group again, especially if you've had a really hard session where you've trained them with more volume and you're selecting certain exercises that are more eccentric, where you're lengthening the muscle under tension and it really breaks down that muscle. If you're doing smaller amounts of volume on that given day for a larger muscle group, you can probably hit it again in a 24-hour period and it should be just fine. And it should be fully recovered and maybe even adapted and ready to go again. So it really depends on what exercise you have selected, how much volume you've done on that given day before you decide, can I train this again tomorrow or should I wait a few days? Again, let's say we're doing legs. And again, legs are very complicated. There's a lot of muscle groups in the legs, right? You got the thighs, you got the hamstrings, you got the glutes, right? Mainly. Calves, can't forget the calves. But let's say you're just doing a few sets of squats, right? People forget though, the squat doesn't train the hamstrings really. You only get about 20% hamstring activation during a squat. So the hamstrings could definitely be trained the next day, no problem, right? The quads could probably be trained too, but you'd have to think of how hard did I train the day before? Was I doing, 6 to 8 sets of heavy squats going all the way near to failure, that to the point where I'm extremely sore today? Or do I feel like I only did maybe 3 to 4 sets and I didn't nearly get to near failure? I feel like I could do it again. In that sense, you would want to do it again, maybe the next day or at least the second day. So these are all the things you have to think about when you're deciding to, when you're programming, when you're deciding to make your full body workouts work this way. And the science supports the full body workouts, guys. You're gonna have better results with muscle growth, strength, and fat loss with the full body workouts, according to the science right now. This is because you're allowed to stimulate adequately throughout the week and allow this SRA curve to take place. The stimulus, recovery, and that adaptation curve, that little bit of adaptation at the end is where you actually will grow and become stronger. If you're allowing that recovery to take place, you will get stronger, you'll get bigger. Some people train too frequently. Let's think of these people, right? People that train too frequently are the ones that are going to the gym every single day, maybe Monday through Saturday, maybe take a Sunday off, because I don't know how many people do 7 days a week. I do know people that have done 6 days a week, and they're training pretty aggressive volumes. So they're in the gym maybe an hour, hour and a half, and they're going really hard, right? So they're training, let's say, their chest and their legs. And at that point, they want to do that. If they do the same chest or legs again the second day, they may not be fully recovered. At that point, they're just breaking it down. They're not allowing that adaptation to take place. They're just hitting their muscles with a hammer, essentially. They're not allowing the SRA curve to take place. So they're not allowing the adaptations, not allowing the recovery. Those people are not going to be very productive. There'll be too much stimulation, not enough recovery, not enough adaptation, no growth. The other group, which I think is more common, is going to be people that do not train enough. They may do chest on a Monday, legs on a Tuesday, shoulders on a Wednesday type of split. Problem with that is if they do chest on a Monday, they never touch it again. That's 6 or 7 days where you don't stimulate again. So you've gone through your SRA curve, you've done your stimulus, you're recovering, you adapt, but then you don't touch it for like 5 days. So you're just going to go right back down to your baseline, and maybe even worse, you might actually go into a negative state where the muscle doesn't grow at all, actually goes the wrong way. It's not getting stimulated enough. So that's probably the most common, and we see that's why a lot of people don't grow. They don't see results. They don't see strength gains. They don't see muscle increases in size because they're not stimulating enough in the appropriate ways. And they're probably not training hard enough, quite honest. Probably in the gym doing a chest day, even on the chest day where they're doing multiple sets, they still don't even go close to failure. And then they wait 6 days before they do it again on the next Monday, but they waited too long. This is especially true for legs. Again, people don't like training legs, so they'll skip it some weeks. They don't touch it for 2 weeks and then they skip it again. So they're only hitting it, one big leg day, maybe once every 3 weeks. What do we think that's gonna do? Nothing. So you really wanna adequately get enough volume in the given week and play the SRA curve game and play the high frequency game. Try full body workout and really think about how many sets per week in the net basis per muscle group, but also think about how you're gonna structure your workout so you can adequately recover, so you can do them again and keep targeting all your muscles from head to toe, right? Just a few sets, all it takes. You could literally do 2 sets per muscle group on one day and go through all the muscles. As long as in those 2 sets go to failure, like you push it hard, you're gonna stimulate very adequately and it will recover the next day because it's only been 2 sets, but those 2 sets were very productive sets. By the time you hit it again the next day, you can do another 2 sets. You can do it the next day, another 2 sets. You could literally do 5 full body workouts Monday through Friday and do 2 sets per muscle group, and that given day, that's 10 sets right there, easy, for chest, for legs, for calves, for glutes, for hamstrings, for quads, for shoulders, for back, for biceps, for triceps. Bam, done. Let's give this a go, guys. Hope this helps.